A few days ago, someone on Reddit requested the old video posted on April of 2012 of the feminist opposition to the construction of a men's center at Simon Fraser University. It was quite an explosive video, due in no small part to the visible overreaction of a group of narrow-minded ideologues to a visibly benevolent attempt to discuss men's issues. It also prompted an article at the National Post titled "Shocking Male Hatred" shocking anti-male hatred at Simon Fraser University, and that article is well worth a read. The video was deleted by the original feminist uploader, known as 7 Stargazing. That happened at some point around 2013 or early 2014. Apparently, no one else managed to get a copy of it and upload it, but fear not, that is where my services come in. I downloaded the entire video as soon as it came out, and today I finally got around to uploading it to this YouTube channel, well out of the reach of the less than honest clutches of the opposition. You may now view the video here, and I'll begin it right now.
I don't think the Men's Center is fiscally responsible for the student society right now.
The project is not financially responsible.
I'm uncomfortable with $30,000 being allotted to a center with no clear mandate.
How can you think that because there's enough money to do that, you should be able to?
Students are paying more in tuition and fees than they've ever paid.
When you have all these other groups that have to work tooth and nail for years to get somewhere, to get funding like that.
The privileging of creating a men's space over other advocacy groups applying for funding and space opens itself up to a lot of outside criticisms.
Considering there isn't a men's movement to liberate men from women and from the gender inequalities imposed on men, I don't think that there's as much of a mandate to create a men's center.
Men have a lot of access to space that women don't have when we talk about having a women's center as a safe space.
The Men's Center is not about gender equality. It is not about being fair to the men at SFU.
It's a bit different than talking about a men's center as a safe space.
You need to have a community. It's essential in order to have this safe space that we want. You need to build the community first.
I think there's a possibility for the Men's Center to become a highly masculinized space if it's not given a clear mandate for inclusion.
I think there's potential that it would become a heteronormative space.
It does not take into account marginalized or subordinate men.
Experiencing sexual assault or has depression or is grappling with any of those issues would want to enter a space where...
A room with a PS3 and a bunch of douchebags sitting around playing games?
Is it going to be trans-inclusive?
In which victimized men would not feel comfortable
Discussing victimization.
Victimized men might not feel comfortable.
Where you don't have a mandate, something where you don't have goals, an idea of what the place is going to look like. The Men's Center will end up being a place to celebrate hegemonic masculinity rather than being a place to include all different types of masculinity. It is not collaborating with the other social justice groups at SFU.
There is a sexual assault working group on campus right now, and I know that they have not been contacted. It's
significant for them to work with the other groups so that you can make sure that you're being inclusive to all the different forms of masculinity. If the point of a men's center is to have a space where men can feel safe, then you should make sure that you are being inclusive to all forms of masculinity. Those include subordinate and marginalized men.
Hey, some women have cocks.
Jeff McCann, Keenan Midgley, and Danielle Hornstein are not the best people to be creating a men's center. It's coming from a space of hegemonic, privileged masculinity. People who are proposing the Men's Center, Jeff McCann, Keenan Midgley, and Danielle Hornstein, have no experience of being a subordinate or a marginalized man. They have no experience of being in a gender studies class.
They're not consulting with people who do have some information about these things and who can provide a better foundation to build this Men's Center on.
They must work with other social justice groups on campus,
such as the Women's Center or out of campus.
To make it better, to make it good, make it something nice.
I encounter catcalling, I've been followed. I think these are pretty standard experiences for a lot of women out there.
SFU took so much care of gender issues and women's safety.
And I don't think that especially straight cis men go through their daily lives experiencing that.
In a safe enough way where it's not going to look like it's a fight against women.
I'd be in support of a men's centre that was liaisoning with SFU and the women's centre and out on campus to create a safe space.
I think everybody on campus would want to support a space that would help men deal with issues.
I worry that that space isn't going to be a social justice space, it's just going to be another boys' club.
Creating one of the first university men's centers is a highly politicized event.
This proposal has created controversy among students at SFU.
With the controversial nature of this project, there needs to be greater financial and political oversight.
We need to actually have a
clear mandate for inclusion.
In order for this project to go forward, there must be budgetary controls.
This project is not fiscally responsible.
I feel like this process has to go the same processes that other spaces on campus have.
There hasn't been nearly enough discussion on campus for a project of this magnitude.
With such a controversial project, I believe that there should be stricter budgetary controls in place to make sure that we know where the money is going to be going.
So vote no.
Now, folks, what do you think? Do the arguments that these people are making sound well-intentioned and honest, or do they sound narrow-minded and disingenuous? Via the useful Wayback Machine, you can also see what the actual page for that video looked like. For convenience and for the sake of preservation, I'm presenting a screenshot here. Note in particular the 97% dislike rate of that video. And how often have you really seen a YouTube video with a like and dislike bar that red? Note what the heavily upvoted comments say. I actually screenshot and download quite a few things like this. I don't try to scoop up everything, but I do make a point to get digital copies of what I think are good resources. Many anti-male web pages, videos, and so forth will eventually be taken down at some point, whether it's due to the growing opposition to anti-male attitudes in academia or to the simple passing of time. But wait, there's more. Here are yet more things taken down by Simon Fraser University during that debacle. In particular, a page for the SFU Women's Center, the same center whose feminists are trying to stop the formation of a men's center. This page features some rather hateful propaganda. Here is a pertinent quote from the page. Though still in its conceptual form, the Male Allies Project is the brainchild of the Women's Center, designed to bring self-identified men together to talk about masculinity and its harmful effects on both men and women. We know that many men are concerned with the way masculinity denigrates women by making them into sexual objects, is homophobic, encourages violence, and discourages emotional expression. Imagine if such a thing were said about any other group of people. And remember, we have to listen to these same feminists both, number one, tell us that men can't have a men's center because men don't suffer from sexism, and number two, that feminism is already working on men's issues, so there's no need for any men's groups at all. Now, why, might you ask, is that quote, along with that page, no longer on the SFU website? Well, after all the SFU feminists decided to dump a bucket of their own ideological feces onto those trying to form a men's center, people began to question whether these feminists actually walked the talk that they were talking. And of course, being feminists, they were prone to disappoint in this regard. I think this is all rather timely to bring up, especially given the recent attempts by feminists and friends at Kennesaw State University to suppress the upcoming Male Students in Peril conference at KSU, of which yours truly will be the keynote speaker. You can still register, and I will put a link in the description panel. Feminists and their friends are notorious tyrants because their worldview cannot exist in the free marketplace of ideas. In the past, they have been quick to enlighten others, quite sanctimoniously, that in a pluralistic society, we aren't always going to hear opinions that we agree with. And yet, it has become entirely predictable by now how often that same enlightenment escapes them when their own bad ideas are held up to the light of public scrutiny. And remember this, although feminists like these may take their videos down, although their web pages may vanish, their hearts do not change. They do not apologize for the hatred that they have spread, or the bigotry that they have supported. Their sexism and misandry is not what changes, just their power to voice it with impunity. They can run, but because of diligent efforts by men's advocates to capture and preserve their misandry for all the world to see, it's getting a lot harder for them to hide.